We also get a Four Horsemen interview. Now, Flair's not here for this interview, but we do have their manager, Ole Anderson, and we've got the other three of the Four Horsemen, Arn Anderson, Barry Windham, and Sid Vicious. And they're all getting together here because they're going to be in a 6-man. Let's talk about this version of the Horsemen. You know, I think everybody knows originally it was Flair, Arn, Tully, and Ole.
Mm-hmm.
But that's changed, over time. There's, been the Lex Luger version, and there's been the Sting version, and now Sid's in the group along with Barry Windham. What'd you think of this incarnation?
You whittle away and you whittle away and you make changes and you allow politics and personalities and egos to adversely affect an institution. Shame on us. Shame on everybody involved. Are you trying to, I'm sitting here and I watch it and you and I are talking about it. I can't bring myself to comparing this version of the Horseman.
You mean,
I'm missing Tully.
Right.
And it's not the Horseman without, and where's JJ?
Right.
So there's key elements that I'm missing out of that. And they came about because of contractual issues, political issues, something that could have been communicated through and a solution be found. That did not happen on so many cases in that era there. So many.
The news would come down, I guess, around the 89 Survivor Series that Tully had failed the drug test. And I think a lot of folks assumed that when Arn came back, Tully was going to come back. Why didn't Tully come back? Set the record straight.
I guess that drug test got him off the do not fly list.
So he would say that he had a verbal offer, and then they would blame the drug test as a reason to offer him roughly half of what the original verbal offer was. He felt offended that it was lowballed, and he decides not to sign. So then I guess they call an audible and Sid's in instead. How different do you think the Horseman would have been? And more importantly, how different do you think Tully's career would have been had he sucked it up? And we've talked about this on the show. There's that old saying in wrestling, you've got to learn to eat shit and like the taste of it. Had he come back for less money, do you think that could have ever worked? Or at that time, did Tully not have the temperament that would have worked at all?
I would like to believe that he had the temperament if he had just taken that one more step. He had probably been back within months, maybe a year, of back to his income level that he wanted, needed. But that's how you do it. You roll your sleeves back up, get back to work. And because he was amazing in the ring, and he and Arn had just incredible timing. Amazing. It's absolutely amazing. So it would have helped the company too, because, Arn and Tully, by a lot of people's estimation, were as good a tag team as there was. And I can tell you that if I had a territory and I had to pick, 2 or 3 tag teams to start my territory, you damn sure better bet that Arn and Tully would be on that 3 or 4 team list. So, and so would the Steiners, by the way. But that's the thing. I just, we needed Tully and we didn't have him. And I wasn't involved in that level of stuff. I'd love to have been. I'd love to have had Hurd's job or whoever was in that role to see how it would have done. But I don't know what the thinking was for that deal. I think there's just so much to be made about failing a drug test that, it should have been kept confidential. There's no reason for it to become public information. It should have, it was handled wrong. And again, I don't know that Tully even had a chance to come in and talk about it. I really don't know that. If he did, it was a one-off. But just lack of communication kills you.
Let's talk a little bit about the next match on the show, which involves these Horsemen. And Meltzer would call him the junk food dog, LG Grande and Paul Orndorff. Before we address Elegante here, what did you think of Meltzer calling your buddy Sylvester Ritter the junk food dog? I mean, he would do it consistently through his newsletter and even abbreviate it instead of JYD, JFD.
Well, the original junk food dog was me, believe it or not, and that came from Ernie Ladd. And then dog started calling me junk food, and nobody as much junk food as he did. I swear to God. But Ernie, that was Ernie's deal, junk food dog, and so this kind of become a nickname for me in that era. I thought it was kind of funny, kind of like I'm being accepted by the boys because I got my own nickname. But it was just all it spoke to was Dave was especially calling out dog. He fell off the wagon here. He stopped training to any degree. His diet was the shits. He lost his edge. He was a prisoner of things he should not have been consuming. God bless him. And they got him by the short hairs and wouldn't let go. And I felt bad for that because all that connotation, the junk food dog, this basically told me that, it reminded me again that Sylvester's not in a good place. Not in a good place at all.
The match is going to go 8 minutes and 33 seconds. Meltzer would say, Elegante got a big pop coming to the ring, and there's no doubt that someday he's going to make this company a lot of money. But I have a feeling they could burn him out too soon if they don't quit pushing him so fast before he learns. Match was okay to good with Orndorff in there. JFD got a nice reaction, but his stuff was terrible. But in some ways, this was the worst match on the show. The finish saw Anderson throw JFD over the top rope for the DQ, and Elegante then chased the heels away. There was a nice babyface crowd pop for Vicious, and Vicious and Elegante have the potential to draw one big house somewhere down the line, provided they wait a long time to get there. The crowd didn't like this match and finish at all because it came off like a ripoff, and that Elegante never once touched one of the heels. Obviously he's not ready to work on their level, but with Arn and Wyndham, you've got guys who should be able to get one good spot where they could bump for him. There was heat for the match, but it ended leaving everyone feeling let down. He gave it 1 star. What do you think of the analysis there?
Pretty damn accurate. When's the last time you thought you could think of that the Horseman franchise in a match at the Great American Bash had 8 minutes of match time? It's almost hard to believe. You could tell the lack of creativity, that the finish was a tossing JYD over the top rope, about as boring and flat as Reeser Bowden used to say, about as flat as a plate full of piss. I just didn't like it at all. I thought it was a phone in. They did it, instead of being in the studio as a guest, they did a phoner. It wasn't good. And protect this guy, protect that guy. But here's the thing. I'm not blaming an individual talent. They were cast this way. This is how they were booked. And I felt bad for Paul Orndorff. And Paul Orndorff wasn't the same because he'd had that nerve deal, his problems with his arm. But boy, with Dog and Elegante was no more ready to get in the ring than I was to try to make weight for the Kentucky Derby. Ain't gonna happen. So I felt bad. The Horseman franchise got abused. They didn't deliver what they normally deliver, and too much saving this guy or saving that guy. They should have beat Dog, called it a day.
Right.
Simple. Should have beat Dog and called it a day, but that's not how the call went down, and therefore the match ended on a very flat note, which helped no one in the process.
Let's talk a little bit about the next match, because this is something that, it's pretty hyped up because Lex Luger is over like Rover. He does an interview beforehand, and it's just typical Lex Luger interview, but there is an interview on the other side. You've got Paulie Dangerously working with Mean Marc, to do an interview here, and just outstanding stuff. You can tell that Mean Marc is not totally comfortable with this process yet. Heyman is just going on and on and on to the point that they have to cut him off and get to the ring. But when the match actually gets going, this is a lot better than people expect. I can't believe that I'm actually going to read this, but Meltzer gave a Lex Luger match 3 stars on pay-per-view. And he would say that, Marc looked green in some of his moves, but he's got a ton of potential because of his size and athletic ability. And actually, Luger worked very well, particularly in selling Marc's moves. Still, two women in the crowd stole the crowd live from this match. Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at savewithconrad.com.